So a few years ago, I was walking on the street in Newcastle, England. I'd been invited there to give a talk. And I chanced upon this sign on a building. And I start reading the sign, and it tells me about Joseph Swan, the inventor of the light bulb. I said, gee, I was thinking, what on earth is this? Didn't Edison invent the light bulb? Well, that started me on a journey. Turns out Edison did not invent the light bulb. Why do we think that he did? Why is the light bulb connected to Edison? Because he took an idea and he brought it to fruition. In fact, Joseph Swan, chemist, physicist in England, about 30 years before Edison was already experimenting with light bulbs, and he had hit upon the idea of taking some sort of filament, putting a current through it, and closing it in a bulb, and he had a light bulb. The only problem was that he didn't have a good enough vacuum pump. Couldn't suck out all of the air, so the filament reacted with the remnants of oxygen in there and burned. But he wrote this up, and there was an article about this in Scientific American. Edison read that article, and he thought, gee, maybe I'll give this a try. And this article, Swan had described how he had carbonized some paper, heated it in an oven to a high temperature, and that served as a filament in his light bulb, but it didn't last a very long time. Now, Edison himself had been working with filaments before. He had tried metals. The only one that worked was platinum, but that was way too expensive to use. And then he read this article about Swan and the carbonized paper. And that started him on a new project. He tried all kinds of materials, heating them to high temperature to carbonize them. He finally hit upon some bamboo. He took strips of bamboo and he heated them in an oven to high temperature and came up with a carbonized version. And here is a replica of his original light bulb. It's hard to see, but there's a very thin filament in there, and that filament was made by taking small pieces of bamboo, heating them to high temperature. And that light bulb could work for about 1,200 hours, and that made commercialization possible. But of course, what Edison became famous for was the introduction of a whole network whereby electricity could be supplied to homes. So he didn't really invent the light bulb, but Edison did make it practical. But he did something else, something that I never thought about until now. He actually invented carbon fiber, because that's what that filament really was, carbon fiber. What brought this to my attention now? This, of course, was the tragedy with the OceanGate submersible. And the body of that is made of carbon fiber. We don't really know what happened, but somehow it gave way. And under the tremendous pressure, hundreds of times greater than atmospheric pressure, the thing was just squashed, and unfortunately the people inside as well. Well, carbon fiber, what an amazing material that is. Because when you heat some material, which is carbonaceous material, whether it be paper or polyester or polyacrylonitrile, you heat it to a high temperature, you drive off all the atoms other than carbon. And those carbon atoms then work themselves into a three-dimensional network like this, extending in all directions. And that gives tremendous strength to the material. And those fibers can then be woven into a fabric. Well, this isn't actually carbon fabric. I don't have any of that. It's expensive, but it would look exactly the same. And that then can be formed around any object, impregnated with an epoxy resin, and that is what makes carbon fiber composite. And when we talk about carbon fiber, it's really this composite that we talk about. And it's very light and very strong. This is what is used to make the F1 race cars. It is used to make bicycles, carbon bicycles. It is used to make golf clubs, wherever you need super strength. And who would ever thought that Edison's light bulb would be connected in this somewhat tragic way to the OceanGate submersible? But now you know a little bit about carbon fiber. What actually happened here, we may never find out because they're not going to be able to find all of the pieces to put them together to see what happened. But there you go, the connection between Edison's light bulb and the sinking of the submersible and the tragedy.